I think we're going to get started now. I'm going to introduce myself here in a little bit, and I'll let my partner do the same. What we're going to talk about today is fire safety topics, including extinguishers, fire behavior, emergency evacuation procedures, the emergency procedures, and fire hazards, and some common fire hazards and life safety deficiencies that the state can and will cite you for. So an introduction of our fire department. We're the Harmony Fire District. Recent consolidation of Zillionople and Harmony. This is part of our PR. We want to get our name out there. Basically what this does for you is it consolidates resources. There's a faster response time and cheaper operating costs because we have the consolidation, so we're not maintaining two buildings, we're maintaining one. I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Scott Frederick. I'm a firefighter EMT with Harmony Fire District since 2008. I was with Harmony and then with Zilli, and then we merged, so I'm here. I'm certified as a firefighter 1 and 2, a fire inspector, instructor, and officer. So what that means to you is probably nothing, but these are both national professional certifications that I received through the Air Force. So our objectives for today: by the end of the course, the staff members should be able to identify phases of fire development, identify various types of fire extinguishers, and identify the correct way to use a fire extinguisher. And don't worry, there will be a test. I'm kidding, there's not going to be. So identify emergency procedures for evacuation of the residents as well as staff, and identify fire safety deficiencies and the appropriate actions to correct them. So first we're going to discuss fire behavior. I always like to do this conversation because it's pertinent to you and how the fire grows, develops, and spreads. If you know that, you might have that little bit of knowledge in the back of your head that says, hey, I should probably close this door or not block it open. So the old school of thought was the fire triangle, which had three components: oxygen, heat, and fuel. And without those three, you would not have fire. Take away the oxygen, fire goes out. If there's nothing to burn, fire goes out. If there's not heat to maintain the combustion, the fire goes out. Now it's the fire tetrahedron is what they're teaching: oxygen, heat, fuel, and a chemical chain reaction. I'm not going to go into the chemical chain reaction. If you'd like to learn about it, Google pyrolysis. So the first stage of a fire is the incipient stage. So you have ignition. The incipient stage is the initial stage, and the fire is easily controllable with an extinguisher. Growth, rapid increase in fire area. So that can be either straight up a wall, along a carpet, running out of the gas tank of your car if it catches fire. Heat and gases are produced by the fire. This is where you get a large volume of smoke and a lot of heat coming from that. And sprinkler heads limit fire growth. Sprinkler heads are set at a certain temperature. And in this building, they're all covered by these little discs that are in the squares. Those are your sprinklers. They're set at a different temperature. So if in industry, if it were set at 300 degrees, you would have blown sprinkler heads all the time. But here, they're probably set at a lower temperature, so because you don't have a large volume of heat in this building. In the fully developed stage, also called a flashover, it's near simultaneous ignition of all combustible materials in an area. Yes, everything can burn. It just has to get hot enough. So here's the incipient stage where there's a small fire, it's growing, it's spreading very slowly. Once it gets to an area that has the perfect balance of either fuel, oxygen, or heat, it grows rapidly to where you get flashover and the fully developed stage. The final stage of fire behavior is decay. So either oxygen's out, the fuel's out, the chemical reaction is interrupted, or there's no more heat. So if like a campfire, that's the easiest way I can explain it. Is a campfire, you start it, it burns all the wood, and then it stops because the fuel's taken away. So next we're going to talk about fire extinguishers. One question I like to ask everybody who's in a fixed facility: Where's your closest fire extinguisher? That's mine.
Right there.
Okay. To your office, do you know where your closest fire extinguisher is? Okay, that's good, because I've had people who say, no, I don't know. And then you're like, well, you should probably learn where it is. So we're going to go over the components of a fire extinguisher. First, it's a stored pressure cylinder of fire suppression agent designed to apply an agent over a short period of time. So once you run out of pressure, you run out of your ability to apply the agent. Type of suppression agent dictates what kind of fire it can extinguish. So common combinations of extinguishers are A, AB, ABC, D, K, ABCK, AK, which is what you have in your kitchens, is an AK extinguisher. A Class A is an ordinary combustible, so anything that makes an ash. So wood, paper, is a Class A combustible. Class B is a petroleum-based product, things that come in a barrel, so oil, gasoline, things like that. Class C is an energized electrical equipment. The easiest way to make a Class C fire go to a Class A is by taking the electricity away. Because once you take the electricity away, the hazard goes away of applying an agent to that. Class D is a combustible metal, which I would be surprised if you have that here. Class K is cooking fats or cooking oils, which is something that you do have here. I did look at one of the kitchenettes over in the nursing area. They have a Class K extinguishing system as well as a Class K extinguisher. And they are, even though you don't have a deep fat frying area in the kitchenettes, that's for the grease that comes off of the food that you're cooking. So if you're making like a grilled chicken sandwich or bacon, the grease that comes off of it, that's what it does. So markings on a fire extinguisher. There's all, as our technology and our research of human behavior increases, they have noticed changes to why, or noticed changes as to why people pick what extinguisher. So the letter is a type of fire that it will extinguish. The shape, this was the old marking system. Now you have pictographs. So but you may have some of these extinguishers in your facility. That's why I'm covering this. The color of the shape is an indicator of the type of fire that it will extinguish. So all of these are identifying markings on an extinguisher that you may need to know. As I said, there's also pictures, which they've learned that in an emergency people panic. So instead of going for a blue circle if their gasoline's on fire, they can look and see, hey, a gasoline can, that will work for my fire. So this is a chart of the colors and shapes. Class A is a triangle. And it's a green. So if you have an older extinguisher that has a green triangle on it, and it doesn't have a letter on it, you'll know that that is a Class A extinguisher. Class B is a red square. Class C is a blue circle. D is a yellow star, and Class K is a hexagon. These are the common pictographs that they have. Most of them, the ones that you have in your facility, are just a black picture. They don't have that blue, like the black squares with the red slashes and the blue. They just have what it will do. So there's no confusion. The old marking system is there on my left, your right, and then Class K is always a skillet with fire coming out of it. So fire extinguisher components, there's the pin. I'm going to put this down. So the pin is always at the top. Okay, now there's different types of extinguishers, but I'm pretty sure you all have the same extinguisher throughout the building. This is the same extinguisher that's throughout. Pin is at the top. It's secured by a seal. That's for when they check it. The pressure gauge. Before you use it, you're supposed to check and see that it's in the green. There's a small sliver of green at the top. If it's one way, it's under pressurized. If it's the other way, it's over pressurized. The hose is easily removable and should be flexible and move. The nozzle is at the end of the cylinder, is the big red thing. I'm not sure how often you all inspect these. I'm assuming on a monthly basis. So whenever they check those, they should be checking the seal, the pressure gauge. If they want to get in depth, they can take this out, make sure this is free moving. If this spins off, if somebody goes to use it, it could blow that off, and then you just have a nozzle that's this long, which is unsafe. Also, the hydrostatic testing date for the cylinder is on the bottom. So those are some things to inspect whenever your staff is inspecting them. One other thing I didn't cover in the presentation, there is a rating on here for how much this is, how much this will work. I believe this is a 10-pound ABC extinguisher. So that means nothing. There's a rating on here, and I'm not going to go into depth about it, but it's either 1A, 2A, 2B, whatever. That is the amount of area of fire that you can put out with that. So the agent in the extinguisher is one of these classifications, a wet agent, which is typically either a Class A or a Class K. Dry agent it interrupts the chemical reaction. So those are your Class B, Class C, and Class D fires and fire extinguishers. Gas is a CO2 extinguisher or nitrogen or whatever. I don't know if you have any server rooms here. Do they have clean agent extinguishing systems in them?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I mean, we have telecom rooms. We don't have servers here, but we have telecom.
Okay.
You know.
So sensitive electrical equipment that could get damaged if we spray it with water. Where I work, we have several large computer rooms that are covered by FM200 systems, which is a clean agent, which is a powder, but it takes away the oxygen, so everybody has to be out of that room. So the wet agent cools the burning material. In a Class K system, it turns the cooking fat into a foam, and it suppresses the vapors to extinguish a fire. I'm not going to go into detail on that. If you'd like to look into that, look at saponification, if you want to learn how to do that, learn how that works. Dry agents interrupt the chemical reaction, and it's typically a dry chemical, which is in your ABC extinguishers, or a Class D, which is a dry powder. The difference between an ABC extinguisher and a Class D is the application rate, or the application method, and the way that it's constructed. Typically, Class D extinguishers are all yellow. There's no red with a yellow star or just a Class D. It's usually they're all yellow, and they have a longer handle because they're designed to you pile the agent on top of it instead of spray it at it. So the gas displaces the oxygen from the fire room. Carbon dioxide and halon 211, halon 212, or FM 200 are examples of the clean agents or the gaseous agents used especially for electrical devices. Okay, so fire extinguisher operations. We follow the acronym of PASS, pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. So you're going to pull the pin from the extinguisher. You're going to aim the nozzle 6 to 10 feet away from the base of the fire. So how far back should you be if you need to aim it 6 to 10 feet? 6 to 10 feet. So, and then you're going to squeeze the handle, squeeze it slowly. Some people will teach that you fire it off to the side first to make sure you have agent, make sure you have gas. This would be an example of when the arrow is not in the green. Do that, and then sweep side to slide in a slow, controlled motion at the base of the fire. You don't want to whip it around like it's a garden hose that got away from you, because you will not put out the fire effectively. You want to aim slowly and move slowly. Here's an acronym. I've seen in some facilities that they will put this sticker above the extinguisher to remind their staff how to use it. Emergency evacuation procedures. When the alarm is activated, the annunciator will tell the location of the alarm, example, second floor, Blue Ridge front. If it is a confirmed emergency that requires the residents to be evacuated to an area of refuge, an area of refuge, other side of the fire doors. I looked at the fire doors in here, they're rated 1.5 hours. So you're not really going to have a major issue if there is a fire on one side and they're on the other. You have, in theory, 1.5 hours, but that's where we're going to go to first to evacuate people. It's the staff's responsibility to evacuate them to an area of refuge, which is a stairwell or on the other side of the fire door. It's the fire department's responsibility to evacuate the residents in immediate area of danger and then continue to evacuate as necessary. Now, when we say evacuate, that doesn't mean we're going to remove them from the building. If there's a fire over in the nursing area, we may bring them to here as our evacuation. But that will be on the chief's decision, which is not mine. Just want to make that clear. So if the residents are not in an affected part of the building, they should shelter in place until it is deemed safe or an evacuation order is given. So like I said, if there's a fire in the nursing wing, we don't want the independent living residents running out of the building. It's safe for them to stay in the building. This building does have sprinklers, so the fire spread is going to be very limited. And as I said before, staff is responsible to evacuate the residents from the rooms to the area of refuge, and the fire department is responsible to evacuate from the building or to another area of the building. If you discover a fire, we're going to use the RACE acronym, which is rescue. Rescue the residents in immediate area of danger only if you're physically capable to do so. Now, there will come a point in time, potentially, I hope it never happens, but you may have to evacuate a resident and not be able to go back for another one. So I'm not saying pick and choose, but get as many as you can out without putting yourself in danger. Because if it takes four staff members to get one patient out of bed into a wheelchair to get them out, it's not worth 5 people going down. I hate to say this, but the one resident is less important than the 5 of you. So do what you can, do what you're comfortable with, but don't put yourself in undue harm to go save these residents. Alert, so pull the fire alarm. There should be fire alarms at every exit door. Confine the fire as best you can. So if it's in a resident's room, close the door. If there's a smoke condition in the resident's room, just close the door and evacuate. When we come up, we'll do the ventilation. We'll make sure everything's okay. And then extinguish the fire if you can. Okay. Use an extinguisher. You can go get a bucket of water. Just not if it's a Class C fire. But you can, if you can extinguish it without putting yourself in undue harm, go ahead and do that. But still call us. So fire safety. Fire safety deficiency is an increase in the chance of fire starting or limiting the ability of fire safety efforts. Examples, extension cords. I know when I used to work here, there was a big push to get rid of the small, like you could see the 2 wires. They weren't wrapped or insulated. And I'm assuming that effort was successful. Blocked exits or propped open fire doors. Those are 2 major fire safety deficiencies. And then blocked extinguishers in pool stations. So I was talking to Christine, I understand residents have their powered wheelchairs that they need to charge in the hallway. They all are on one side. Some other fire safety deficiencies, an electric cord plugged into a power outlet or to a power strip. You can't have that. Anything that exceeds the amperage on a power strip. For example, I was doing a fire inspection and there was a microwave, like an industrial microwave, plugged into a power strip. Those are designed to be plugged directly into the wall. Daisy chaining power strips, that's another thing, another common safety deficiency. But extinguishers, blocked pool stations, and propped open fire doors are the major deficiencies that I've seen. All right, thank you.